Ladies and gentlemen. Well, there's been a lot of noise tonight and lots of chat, so I'm assuming that you're enjoying the company that you have here. It's good? Well, I have, for sure. And on behalf of the Commerce Team Global, thank you. That was a delicious meal. Thank you. And Sarah, thanks for bringing everybody together. It's pretty unique opportunity here. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Kate Hardcastle. Kate, take your seat. Take the hot seat.
Do we have to do the key change like Westlife?
Yes, we do.
Do we stand up on that bit? Yeah. Just remind me of the choreography.
Now, I know that Anne Summers is in the room, but I've learned a little bit more tonight about accessories and ladies' handbags. And Kate's going to tell me a little bit about it and share it with you.
Am I?
Yeah.
That's what I'm here to talk about, accessories and ladies' handbags.
Well, actually...
27 years of trying to stop misogyny, and you have got me here to talk about handbags.
See, I'm in trouble already. I'm in trouble already. No, I mean...
See, a lot. I've got my own microphone. I've got my microphone.
I mean, this thing, these two
this
things.
Thing, yeah.
The two things, not the buzzer.
It's just
the
LA,
others.
baby. That's how we do it in LA.
Okay, look. Okay. There you go, please.
Thank you.
Just...
This is Touchland. This is how we sanitize our hands in America. Very moisturizing, very demure.
Very mindful.
Very mindful. And this is how we project ourselves in LA. Very mindful, very demure.
Okay, is this news to anybody? I mean, it was news to me. No, you all have one, right?
Not yet.
If you don't, I can get you in.
Okay,
No problem.
so there it is.
Great, I got some sales out the night. All good.
See, it is, I mean, it is interesting
Yeah,
in
of
a
course
way,
it's
actually.
interesting.
All
Yeah,
this media stuff and looking best on your Instagram and all this type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Huddersfield to Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of a taste of where you were brought up, how you were brought up, all this. So give us the beginning.
Yeah, so Huddersfield to Hollywood. I was brought up in Huddersfield in a very challenged area in the midst of the mining strikes. So it was very real, very raw. And I think a lot of us understand, a lot of Northerners in the room. I've managed to speak to many of you tonight, so thanks. I've been listening. I love listening. 2 ears, 1 mouth, using that order.
Well, 2 ears, 1 mouth, and this is what you've been...
Using that order.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
There was a show on Radio 4 recently that covered the coal mining strikes. I don't know any of you listened to it.
I
It was
did,
absolutely fascinating, and they had some of the wives and going back to that time of Maggie Thatcher and Arthur Scargill and all that sort of thing. It was fascinating, wasn't it?
It's hard
so
to ask,
did you experience that firsthand?
Very much so. My dad was, my parents are charity workers. I'm the first kind of commercial person in our family. And they were supporting a lot of the victims through a lot of the Bradford riots, if you will remember it. So, you know, this is new territory for them to have a daughter that said, I want to have more than 1 pair of shoes when I grow up. That was my ambition. I have many pairs of shoes now, so I succeeded. So yeah, it was interesting times. The careers advice was you're quite bright, so you know, don't think you'll get a job in London, but maybe you could work at a bank.
I think that was the advice for everybody. I got told maybe I should
Did
be
you work in a bank?
A clerk at a bank, yeah, of course. No, I'm more a bank robber.
You're too demure for a bank robber.
Bank diamonds maybe. Diamond,
Right.
yeah,
Can you hear me all right without the microphone, or do you want the
think so,
microphone?
yeah.
Okay. I have an ability to project my voice. Yeah.
So I'm a diamond thief.
Great.
You, on
And
the other
I'm
hand,
a
are-
council house kid. Right.
Okay,
So
good.
Huddersfield, it gives you School of Hard Knocks, working men clubs, women not allowed on the snooker tables. That's the background really. And you know, I'm really grateful to it because it gave me a huge ability to be able to understand and read people, and actually found that I was a introvert, a geek from a very young age. Very happy to own the title of geek. But it was very challenging. There wasn't the extracurricular activities. There really wasn't the kind of social network to be able to engage with it. So one of my other hobbies was singing, and that's where I found the other skill I needed in life to put these two together. The geek and the singer together was the sweet spot.
So you're singing. Did you actually
Yeah.
learn in town at home as a child then?
So I was a glass collector in working men's clubs, very underage. And I used to watch the acts, and I think we kind of quite, we kind of think Peter Kay and Phoenix Nights, but those clubs were hard. Like, you had Bob Monkhouse, these brilliant acts that would come, and that was their art and their craft. And I watched them whilst I was collecting glasses and in the surroundings, and watching an audience say yes or no immediately, which is what consumers do. They say yes or no immediately, and you serve that audience. And I was watching thinking, and I really am fascinated by the skill of what makes a Saturday night go really well and what goes totally off par. And these were the days, I know there are some northerners in the room, so kind of like Batley Variety Club. They would call and bring in the best Motown talent, the best soul talent from America. These were not backyard acts. These were the creme de la creme, and then the variety shows, etc. So my grandfather was a musician. He was a singer, kind of like a Rat Pack kind of singer. And he gave me that zest for, I think...
That's Sinatra for anybody who's too young. The Rat Pack.
Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an education that I was receiving at a young age, probably without realising it. But I learnt courtesy, I learnt respect, authenticity. You can't pull the wool over anyone's eyes in that type of environment. But I was kind of hiding this desire to work with numbers, and it was my grandfather who managed through a friend to borrow a computer, and I started coding when I was about 13 years old.
Wow.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I know, and there was no one I could speak to. There was no internet. You see, Paul, you could have come to my saviour then, but no, there was no one really to connect with and understand what I was doing. But the more I kind of played with this very old, antiquated PC, the more I thought there's something in this, and this is how I'm going to reach the world. I had a desire to get out of the environment I was in, not out of any disrespect, just I wanted to see the world.
Just ambition.
And then I won a scholarship. I won a big American scholarship. This is going to go on camera for the first time, 27 years of public speaking. And I fell in love, and I turned it down.
Oh, hang on a second.
I
Okay,
know.
just rewind a little bit. Okay, so you were offered a scholarship. So what type
12
of...
months in America
were
through
you-
the British Rotary Club.
But you were at a state school,
I
presumably.
was at a state school, yeah.
Where? In what town?
It was Elland, which is in between Huddersfield and Halifax.
Okay, so you're doing well, and
I was a public speaking champion for the north of England, and that connected me with the Rotary Club, and they asked, it was the first time they'd got sponsorship. They wanted a British student to go over and sort of sell Britain, I guess like a DTI type role, to kids in America in the hope they might come and decide they wanted to be in England instead of America.
But who's your influence at this moment then? Mum and Dad?
No, God, we're getting really deep really quick. I wrote 70 letters to Anita Roddick.
70 to Anita?
Yeah.
My word, okay.
And she answered, and I took 4 buses and a train to go and meet her. So she was absolutely my inspiration. Anita Roddick, but you're all too young. It was the founder of the
No,
Body
but it's
Shop.
a body shop, so... So where did you meet her, in London?
No, we met, she was doing a store opening, thankfully, in Huddersfield. She couldn't meet me in Huddersfield, unfortunately, but she met me somewhere, I don't know, some place in Lancashire. It was
How
a
old were
midway
you at the
spot.
time?
15.
Goodness me. That's
I was
fascinating.
very, very driven, but not for the need of material gain. I was just really driven by the idea of learning. I felt there was a pot of learning that I couldn't get to, and I wanted to get beyond where I was to that learning.
And so your parents have this conversation in the evening when you've gone to bed about, where did she come from?
Yes, the 2
Yes.
charity workers who are incredible and wonderful, and I am
Yes.
so proud of them, did not know, and to this day sent me a message very much of that nature. We're not quite sure if you're still ours, but we're happy anyway.
Yeah, that's really
It's
special.
my birthday
isn't it?
today, sorry. That's why they sent me a message. My parents don't message me every day.
We are going to sing happy birthday later.
Oh,
but
good.
We'll
I'm
save,
here because
we'll
of
save
Sarah
that.
and Sarah, that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely, that's really special. So, you at 15, you contacted Anita Roddick. You
Yeah.
met with her.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Several times. She swore a lot, and my parents don't swear. So I found that quite impressive. I didn't really know what to do with it. I was blushing all of the time. At the same time, going, she's incredible. She told me later on a later meeting, because I met her daughter Sam, who was behind Asian Provocateur many years after Anita's passing, and I just said, I just feel like I need to come and thank you because of how incredible Anita was for me. But she told me when I met her as a professional, like, all these ambitions are great, Kate, but you need a platform. You need a platform, and then people will listen. At the moment, you're just kind of a kid in a field doing good. So, find the platform and then speak to your topic and make sure it's purposeful, but make sure it's like a storyteller, a good storyteller, which you do day in, day out. You tell the same story over and over again. And it's that repetitive, that consistency that will help. And I think that's what we need to do in business more. We need to be authentic and genuine. And just as she was incredible. But she did swear a lot.
That is actually quite interesting because one of the things that I do, and I don't really want to talk about me at all very much, but just to lean in on that, is that one of the things I do is culture change. And so you set a vision. And often the vision is, what's your vision? Well, we want to be number one or number, whatever it is. Well, if you want to be number one, why? Well, that's not a vision. That's not visionary. So let's set a proper vision. And then if you've got a group of people working for you, it actually, if you can continue to repeat that vision and that statement for about 18 months, then just about everybody will understand it and understand their part in it. But that continual repeat, a little bit like children. Don't do that. And you just keep doing it and keep doing it until they do.
When we were, one of the roles that I took was to turn around an organisation called Silent Night and create the Hippo and Duck. And we moved it from a real life duck and an animatronic hippo to bringing over the Warner Brothers animation team from America to create it. I'm the person that haunted your dreams. I believe in miracles. Where are you from? You sexy thing.
I told you she was going to sing it.
4 years of, and believe it or not, in that time, it was completely unheard of for anyone in the furniture industry to be deemed good enough to win national awards. And we took the UK's Marketing Award, I took the Marketer of the Year, Internal Communications Award, but all this was set against a challenge of we had thousands of workers in a factory in Barnoldswick and unions to deal with. And it was that internal comms, the culture piece, that was the most coveted award for us, because we had to take 2,500 people on a journey of why it was the right thing to do to spend millions on advertising when everyone just wanted more cash in the bank at the end of the day. So, I really, truly believe that storytelling culture is vital and becoming more so.
That's interesting that you think it still has a place, and you think actually that's going to be accentuated even more.
We have less authenticity than ever before, so we need more authenticity and reality and good leaders that will repeat the same story and help their teams understand day in, day out, this is where we're going, this is our purpose, this is our duty, this is how we serve.
Before we go on with authenticity and maybe dig in deeper a little bit there, this scholarship that you've turned down, I'm going to take you back to it.
Right, thanks.
Go on. So you're offered the scholarship.
What do you want me to say? I fell in love with a musician.
No, wait. So you're offered this scholarship.
Yes.
Your mum and dad have said, hey, Kate, you've got this scholarship.
Sure.
Come on, you've got to crack on with this. Surely.
Oh, no, they weren't pushing it anyway. No.
Okay.
No, it was all good. It was down to me.
And the scholarship is for?
12 months to go live and work in America.
Okay.
And be educated in America as well.
And as furthest you've been is to meet Anita Roddick, right? It's up there, isn't it?
Hadn't even been to London at this point.
Okay.
Right.
And are you frightened by this scholarship offer? No, it's just there, but all of a sudden some wretched guy comes along.
I was
and
a
you fall in
singer.
love.
I was a singer
No,
in a band.
Yes,
it
go
was
on.
all going good. So at the time, geez, this is 52 speeches a year, Sarah, and we're like in the deep and personal. I hold you accountable. There was a film called The Commitments by a guy called Roddy Doyle.
Oh, we remember that. What a movie, yes.
It came out in 1992.
Yeah.
Apart from The Commitments wasn't real. And then when it went crazy at the box office, every pub club in the land wanted The Commitments in real life in their pub and club. Oh. And I was the blonde one. Right,
okay.
so
there you
the
are.
very clever agent called Johnny Peller, who smoked multiple cigars with a full-on sheepskin coat, said, I'm going to create, before Pop Idol, I'm going to create The Commitments. I'm going to capitalise on this. And we were sponsored by Budweiser and Yates's, wine bars, and Ralph Lauren and everyone else. It was like this UK-US fusion in around 93, 94. I was on the crest of the wave, you know? I was just like, I'm in love with a musician, I'm a singer in a band, we rock it out at theatres, I'm dressed by Ralph Lauren, life's good. I don't need this.
And then?
And so I turned down the scholarship.
Yep.
And I carried on being a rock and roll person for
And
a
where
while.
did that take you, the rock and roll?
On
What
a lot
did
of
you learn from this?
sofas. Oh my God, no, I will never do justice with it. So being a performer, which I think you have that spirit in you as well, you live and die by the moment. There's no 3-year plan, no strategy where you can kind of test, trial. You are out on a stage and your audience will come with you or they won't come with you, that's it. And you have to learn that very raw skill of one night you'll be, I mean, you hear it from comedians, right, being interviewed. You will die on...
You're sort of as good as
for
your
no reason.
last performance,
Absolutely,
right?
and you're as good as... And so I treat, like, I am very fortunate and I've worked very hard to be the chair of Cannes, Lion and Seamless FinTech in Saudi, in Las Vegas, Shop Talk, Grocery Shop, Sarah helped me out. All of these massive kind of pivotal events for thousands of people, but I treat that with the same respect that I learned on that stage. That audience is there, they are spending their time with you and you have to win them over or you will not win them over. So what are they here to learn? What are they here to hear? It's about leaning into that.
Yes. So you did this for a year or two, or?
Yeah, I was studying at the same time on the quiet because I was just pretending with all the guys I was a rock and roll kid. I'd lied about my age, which my parents now know, so I don't mind doing that. I was escaping outside of my bedroom window to do the gigs. The hardest part of it was I'd gone out of the bedroom window and then my parents were sat in the audience at a gig. That was,
That's
awkward.
good. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the reaction.
That was the reaction.
Yeah.
So you're out there, and and then what's your next step from there?
So I was really nervous about the debt of university. I got places, and I decided that there was a route where I could get the education, university education, and be paid at the same time and learn on site. So that seemed really appealing. So I looked at all the student opportunities. I got the M&S. I was going to say the M&S gig. Got all the student graduate gigs, and the one that appealed to me was a merchant bank. So I went to a merchant bank, and that was very short-lived, about 9 months.
Where was that?
So it was a merchant bank of Scotland, and we were based in Leeds, and obviously Scotland.
Yes, okay.
So my parents had all the kidnapping training, which frightened them to death. This is what's going to happen when your child disappears and she doesn't come home. This is what you need to do. It was a great lesson again, but it wasn't the right course for me. And so I thought I didn't know the word disruptor, but I want to be in an industry where I can make change and make a difference. And I love fashion, I love interiors, I love all of these things, but I want to go into something that's quite, challenging, and maybe that way I can find a route forward. So there was a furniture manufacturer in Leeds called JB, who at that time were famous for making the folding beds that you probably put your auntie on at Christmas.
I don't know about these folding beds.
Folding beds are a bed that folds in half. You do. You've slept on one, I can tell. And they wheel out of the closet, and that's it, you know. Auntie Joan gets 2 nights kip on the folding bed. And they were offering me the opportunity to get education and get a really great job. And the marketing manager at the time, great guy, but I just thought I'd quite like to do what he does, so I did.
Okay, so that's your first step into marketing.
That was my first step in marketing, yeah.
How did you get on?
Well, really, we turned it around. I mean, if you probably saw the brand at the time, we've got Richard here tonight who knows the industry well. We just had no worries about disrupting the industry. So we then created the trend for Victoriana reproduction beds, which then became prevalent on every TV program and with the trend du jour. And I would just rock up at Next or Selfridges or Harrods and go, "Hi, I think you need to buy some of my beds." Then I started designing them. I designed some of the best-selling beds. I wasn't a designer. I got on the foundry floor. I learned how to do the fleur-de-lis in the metal and started going to Milan and started going to our incredible international network and just found this ability, I guess, to balance creativity with all of the shrewdness of looking what the internet might look like and the business side, the commerciality. And I just think I've always had this attitude of surround yourself with experts and learn from them, whoever they are. Just find them, gravitate to them and say, right, what can you teach me?
Yes.
So I was working 18-hour days, 7 days a week, sleeping under the desk, and then on Thursday, Fridays and Saturdays I'd go out and do a gig as well. That was it. I was happy, dedicated, loving it.
I think it's quite extraordinary, don't you? I think it's a fascinating story.
Then I got headhunted by Silent Night. Did that for 4 years, made them a super brand, so we were more recognised than McDonald's and
So you got
Dulux at the time.
You basically got recognised for the work that you were doing
Yeah,
by a
we've
company that's
won
bigger.
lots and lots and lots of awards by this
Yeah.
point and become prevalent on the front cover of like Marketing Week and things like that because there'd been no female really in the industry. That's fair to say. There's no, so Cabinet Maker, all these, rocking it in Cabinet Maker, front page, Glamour Girl on Cabinet Maker, saying, why doesn't the furniture industry listen to customers? My God, the woman is the customer, 25 to 55, I can speak their language. But not in any bullshit way, just doing it very genuinely and seeing the identity opportunities. So I was being headhunted and then started getting headhunted out of the industry as well. Because it's quite a, with love, it's an industry that can be quite internalised.
Well, every industry somehow is
Absolutely.
small, isn't it?
Yeah.
We will find that out. But, yeah. So they found that out about you. They brought you in and you started doing great things for them.
Yes.
But what was the switch where you decided to go out pretty much on your own, I think? Is that fair to say? Is that...
No, there were a few of us. So we were in the 3rd iteration for an organisation called, so we'd gone big PLC, then we went down to, I was offered many, many jobs because at this time I was Marketer of the Year for the whole of the country. So Unilever was sponsoring me through my INSEAD studies. I'd picked up a lot of, this is really difficult for a Yorkshire girl. We don't do like bragging rights very well. Sarah and Richard can do a better job of what I did, but I was in high demand because a lot of organisations felt they had to have me there because I was the go-to girl. I was different. I had no qualms. One of the awards that I got the accolade for, I turned up in a tailor-made blue and white striped pyjama suit that my hippo wore. And I took my coat off in the award ceremony and just, everyone else was in beautiful ball gowns and I just walked up in a blue and white pyjama set.
That's pretty out there.
I lived my brand. I enjoyed doing it.
Yes.
So what happened? So Marketer of the Year, moved to, I had lots of different job offers and a gentleman kept writing to me from this organisation called Halo International. Very successful, not very reputable in Cheshire. Had all of the good stuff there but needed some sorting out and asked me to go in as more of a general role, commercial role. And I kind of laid out the cards. It took about a year to do the deal and I didn't really want to go back in industry. I was going to go into fashion by this point. And I said, look, if you let me go to China and Japan and all of these places and learn the techniques and the manufacturing and see it at site and live in the dorms so that I've got an advantage over other young breakthrough kind of people at my age
How
within
old
my
were you
peer
at this
group.
time?
25, 26.
So you have you seem to have an incredible awareness for somebody at 25 years old. I mean, I look at myself at 25, naive, running like crazy, Peter Pan type thing, no awareness
I can
whatsoever.
see you as Peter Pan.
Thank you. I'm still there, pretending.
In your head.
Except I wake up in the morning, I get to the mirror, and I think, oh my God, what the hell happened to you?
You look like Peter Pan.
The mind is still there. I'm like every man, right? We're all still 21 until we look in the mirror. But no, seriously, there is a certain awareness that you have, self-awareness,
Yes.
and awareness of what's out there at quite a young age, I would say.
Yes, I was very, very different to my peer group. I understand that. I still am to this day. I find an absolute joy in learning. I mean, to me, hopefully those of you, we had a conversation, you know this, I'm interested in you. You're going to tell me things I don't know. You have a lived experience I don't have. Construction and golf. 2 weeks in the car firm, having come from vintage gaming. You know, this is, whoa, brilliant. Talk to me, you're the experts, let me learn. So yes, I think for me, it wasn't about the ego. All of these great photo shoots and everything were happening in the meantime. And salary-wise and position-wise, you know, for me, it was like, I want to be a director before I'm 30. I want to earn 100K before this age. And I'd done that, you know. I was living the high life. Rod Stewart was singing Happy Birthday to me. You know, it was great, but for me, it was, what can I do next? How can I learn next? Hilo was a very...
When is Rod Stewart singing Happy Birthday to you?
He sang Happy Birthday to me in Las
gonna let you get away
Vegas.
with this.
Do you remember Planet Hollywood? It's just when they'd launched a
Yes.
Planet Hollywood somewhere, and it was great. And it was my birthday that night as well. So maybe you could be Rod tonight.
Hey, baby.
You got your leopard skin in the
I
back.
could do with sailing.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I can do it. I'm just a bit taller than him, that's all.
You're very tall. Yeah, all the good stuff's happening. So for me, it was a real challenge, a real danger zone to go back into kind of a maverick entrepreneurial organisation.
But you've already said that you want to go to China, you want to sleep in
Yeah,
wherever it
I
happens
laid my
to
deck
be.
out. This is everything I want. And also it was a completely male-dominated organisation, so I wanted one of the best female mentors as well, bringing in to mentor me, which I got. I had a certain financial package that I wanted that I got. The brothers who ran the organisation, one's passed now, were very maverick, very entrepreneur, but the head of Selfridges at the time turned around to me and said, be very careful, Kate, here, because the way I describe it is we want the furniture, we want the goods, we want the interiors, but it's like the two cowboys have turned up to town and they hang the horses outside when they come in for meetings. They are really, really not the kind of image of... Is that fair? That's
Totally
fair.
They were
So
mad.
they were
Mad.
mad.
They were
Yeah.
mad. Mad and mad.
Mad and mav. So I had to go and organise them to put them in a great state for Richard to be able to go and...
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And it was 4 years and it was painful. So my first experience in China was, you know, unforgettable. They're two brothers, huge,
Are you in Beijing or where are you?
Guangzhou.
Guangzhou.
Well, you're nowhere near Guangzhou, about 5 hours. The
No, I
motorway
stayed in
finished and it was
Guangzhou and then we got...
track.
But so this is
It's
the
in the
first
middle of
night. This is
nowhere.
the first night.
Wow.
The first night I was in this hotel, and the hotel in Guangzhou at the time, which has Starbucks and everything, it's a different world. This is 2002, 3, something like that. It was the hotel where the Chinese adoptions happened. So it was a hotel that was purpose-built really for American families particularly to come in and adopt the Chinese girls. So that was happening around your breakfast every morning. And then I'd gone in on Chinese New Year, and neither owner had really worked out in Chinese New Year that, you know, obviously it's a huge public holiday. So the translator that they booked me, the chauffeur that booked me just weren't there at all. And I got delayed because I have a chronic illness and I have quite a lot of medication, and I hadn't got the correct permissions to take the medication in. So I got delayed, and whoever they had sent for me had disappeared. And by this point, some really kind of try it on guy had stood behind the taxi counter, and I came out with my best Mandarin. I was like, yes. And they were like, just make sure you negotiate, then you look like a local. So I came out trying to really negotiate this price down to probably £2. And he wasn't a taxi driver. So I followed him out, and I'm dragging my own case, and I'm thinking, wow, here I am. This is what you asked for. Should have asked for LA. And just probably, it must have been half a mile at least, outside the airport in the middle of wilderness, 2 policemen knocked me flat, ran after him, arrested him, dragged him back, said something in Mandarin to me. That was it. I was just stood there. Right, what do I do now? So I dragged myself back to the airport, and I'm just like, can I get a translator? Can anyone tell me what's going on here? No one could tell me what's going on. I was 4 hours at the airport. And someone said, oh, you know, at best, your luggage would have gone. At worst, you would have been beheaded.
Beheaded?
Yeah, he was some rogue that was just known and not pleasant. So I said, how do I get here? The best way is on a bus, right? So I literally sat on the bus with a lady who had a chicken in a cage next to me on her lap. I was like, this is surreal. Eventually got to this hotel, which wasn't great. Was so stressed out. No mobile phones, no, you know, sat nav, anything at all going on. And switched on the television, which had, do you remember the big silver clunky dials on it? I switched to click on a television, the television blew up. I just thought, yeah, get me out of here. So I'm so ready for the jungle. I'm so ready for the jungle.
You are ready, I think. Yeah, have you been asked?
I can't say.
Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, next series.
No, I just think, so that was like my first impression, and it was that reality check. I mean, truly, I speak to sustainability, I speak to consumerism. I'm trying to find constantly that purposeful balance between how we as businesses maintain profitability and do the right thing and still sell, but at the same time, we get some reality check on it. And I was just wading through these football-sized pictures of warehouses, looking at the sheer demand of all of these products flying through all the time. And at the time, which the team know about, and they've very, very quickly restructured, but we had distressed leather, and that leather was being distressed by hand, by a Brillo pad, with a bleach component, with a raw hand in the mix. And that was the reality of it. So, you know, I thought I had Streetwise.
Yes.
I had a different level of Streetwise, and I was serving over there, making those changes for 4 years, as well as making it a very predominant and tasteful brand that now has, you know, bougie shops in New York and everywhere else.
Yes. So you've actually looked under the bonnet of the car,
Right.
looked at every item, every piece that makes that engine work.
Sure.
Learn how to do it.
Yes.
And come out of it, well, okay, I know all of that, as well as the next piece in the marketing, which is much more polished and everything, isn't it? But you're saying that it's a real benefit to know a lot about the product and how things are done, really appreciate that, appreciate what the workers are doing in order to be able to go and market it.
Completely. I mean, I was beyond marketing at this point. I think some of it came from an absolute frustration of being called the flowery and fluffy one around the table at directors' meetings, where I'm anything but, I'm going to make you the money that you want. So understand brand. That was still challenged back then. I think a lot of businesses and organisations talked a good talk, they didn't walk the walk. But for me, I'd fallen in love with business. You know, for me, it was, I'm going to be more than a marketer. I want to be in the cog of the wheel rather than just a small cog in this. So I wanted a more commercial sort of CX piece, and that's what I was moving towards.
Yeah. I think that's fascinating. What happened to the guy, by the way?
The taxi
The
driver.
one the guy stopped you going for your scholarship.
He didn't stop me. I chose.
I know.
I've no idea. He stalks me every day on Instagram. What can I say?
He's still stalking you. Of course he is. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so let's just now bring you forward just slightly, not much, but into the internet, really, which
Sure.
the internet has been a massive disruptor, hasn't it, to, well, every single business in the world. And when I go into a business, I'm always looking at George Land's growth curve, which is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 3 is the bit where they hit the wall. So you have EMI, who've sold, I don't know, 33s, LPs. We all remember the first record that we ever bought. And they go, okay, we've sold our 33s, we've sold our 45s, what's next? and they've got the record player. And now it goes, well, actually, we've got this thing called a cassette, because the record breaks every now and again, and you can only put it on this deck. Oh, and by the way, not only that, but the government are now allowing you to take a loan. And what do you do when you can take a loan? You buy a car. So suddenly everybody could buy a car. And they wanted their music, and they couldn't take their 33s and 45s, so they produced this cassette because they had a good R&D. And in went the cassette, and you could play your own music on there. And I don't know if you remember, but sometimes you took it out and it all went wrong, and you put the pencil in, and so you do remember. And also, before my time too, really, I'm making it all up. I think it was Supertramp was when I was at college, Breakfast in America. But sorry to just do this because it is relevant, is that what they then did was you were able to rewind it to the piece of music that you wanted, and then I went, what's next, for Christ's sake? You know, we've now sold every cassette that we sold in records, in the 33s and 45s. We've also got all the new songs that have come through. Come on, give us something. Okay, there's a CD. And the CD doesn't break, it's indestructible, it sounds as if you're in a recording studio with them. That is our next thing. So now we're selling them all over again, and we're selling the new stuff, and we're making huge profits because they're even cheaper to make. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what's next? And we've got, oh, the mini disc. Anybody remember the mini disc? Probably not really, because that is that moment when the companies hit that wall on phase 3 of the growth curve, which was what the hell is that? And it's called the internet.
Well,
and that was a disruptor in the
music
iPod, industry.
And
the iPod. There was the Walkman stereo.
But the iPod, I think, because that was the connectivity online, that was the curation of your music using that internet and technology.
True, although, of course, what happened is that the internet came and you could buy all this music, or you could have this music for free on the pirate things, and then they tried to police it and stop you doing it. So talk to us a little bit about this new internet that's come in and how you got involved with that. It is relevant, isn't it?
It is relevant.
Yeah.
I love that. I have a podcast, I feel like I'm about to advertise now, called Rock and Roll Business, and that's exactly what we talk to. We have travelled the world talking about the business examples we can all learn from the music industry, because the one thing about the music industry is it actually has had to deal with sudden change very rapidly.
Yes.
And it had to deal with that. You know, so last week or 2 weeks ago, I was probably boring all of you on air. I apologise about the Oasis tickets and dynamic pricing, which a lot of consumers had never heard the term dynamic pricing before the Oasis tickets, even though they experience it with flights and Amazon and everything.
It drives me insane. I've got an 8-year-old who wants to see Frozen, and suddenly everything's starting to book up, and now it's like 500 quid a ticket.
Frozen the musical?
Huh?
Frozen the musical?
Yeah.
Oh, give us a shout.
No, thanks.
Look, you know, so we see this move through every industry, and I think it's number one, not being fearful of it, which is I think what the guys here tonight are brilliant at. They understand that this is about an evolving and moving, a shape-shifting piece rather than a fait accompli. We are never in our lifetimes, I don't believe, going to get to a point where we go, oh, right, okay, that's what it is. Great, we got there. Well done, everyone. Let's change, let's evolve. I work cross-sector, so I work in retail, I work in cradle to grave, literally funerals, celebration of life, nursery products, all the way through. And you know, the only thing that's consistent, number one, is the consumer, because their education comes from all sectors, always of life. And two, that everything's going to change constantly. And there's a lot of fear around that. I think we have a lot of leaders that would prefer it if it just stayed with the status quo, but that's not the way it's going at all. We need a lot more legislation, truly, particularly thinking about AI. It's a genie out of the bottle at the moment. It's potential to do so much. It's incredible, but it's also quite scary for many, and I think that needs to have more legislation in there. We've got young people that just are given this tool that our generation created that they don't quite know how to handle, and I think they're given it before they're mature enough to even handle it. We're on self-service now. Beep, 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 beep. But what's after the future of barcode? Is it a QR code? Yeah. Is the QR code then going to give us more provenance and information about the products we're buying? Think about re-commerce and the huge changes in re-commerce. So do you start then having a QR code that you scan and you can start saying, okay, these jeans were bought from this product, this environment, they were made in this way, they were sold first at this point, at this time, from this store, and it gives you kind of a life certificate for that. You say, this is the sort of area I'm interested in. So if you hold me firm on good or bad, I'm like 100% the tech girl still through and through. I just want to have more support in there for consumers. What challenges me the most, and I was working for one of the biggest canned food companies last week on my very varied life, but information for consumers. Consumers feel they have the most information at their fingertips, and in a way that they do, but actually it's information still that organisations generally want to give them. And I think what we need to do is try and find a way that we can open these channels up and really make sure that I've never met a consumer yet that has turned around and said, Kate, I don't want an organisation to make profit. They get it. They truly understand it. They know how the business mechanics work, and they know that businesses will make money. That's how it works. They want us all to make our money fairly, and I think that's right. So I talk a lot about sustainability. I was at COP28 doing a lot of work in the UAE and what that looks like. You know, no business really can understand where the sustainability push is going to go to, what consumers want. They don't truly understand the supply chain, so they're asking for a lot of things that can't be delivered. Harmony for me is the business and the consumer finding a common ground and working together on it. And what's going to be the enabler of that? Tech. So
if I can, just for simplicity, can I just ask you the transition from going, being in China, working with all the engine pieces and everything else,
Sure.
to suddenly, okay, now we've got this internet thing, and
Yeah.
you've got to take this on board as a marketeer,
Mm-hmm.
from not having it to having it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly it's sunshine, but it's something completely different. How did you grasp that to begin with? Can you remember?
I was all right with it. I think the biggest challenge was the other people in the room. There was so much fear for it. And I went to the 1999, I believe, Internet Retail Forum held at Café de Paris.
Yep.
And I was the only person that stayed past 11 o'clock. By that point, all major retailers had left the room, shaking their head saying this is never going to happen.
It's never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you again saw that actually no, here it is.
Yeah.
There's something amazing here that I can grasp and.
Look, if I could have
take
told
on.
you which bits of it were going to work and which bits weren't, and it wasn't a trial by error, then I'd probably not be sat here right now.
But the simple piece is nothing has really changed from the consumer's point of view. I'm just throwing that out for you to throw it back at me, but and nothing has really changed from our perspective in owning businesses, because essentially what we want to do is 1, find the customer, 2, win the customer, 3, keep the customer. Find, win, keep, right? I mean, that's what I want to do in my businesses, and that's what we want to do, because that's what's going to bring that music of money and therefore sustainability. So would you agree with that?
No.
Tell me.
I think it will always cost more money to find a new customer than to keep an existing one, and I get frustrated by the amount of organisations that don't get that. So I think you're absolutely right up to that point. But acquisition is very, very expensive.
Sorry to interrupt, but even if you're keeping your present customer, you do still have to go and try and find new customers, don't you?
It depends
so
what your good is and where you are. You might have a limited sell. You might be a bespoke boutique product.
Or a new company.
Or a new company entirely. Look, the point I was going to make was the way in which consumers navigate, find information has changed significantly. We are amidst an evolution of consumer power, consumer focus, and organisations are having to step up and be accountable in a very different way. If we look at our big grocery stores, look at our big retailers, absolutely it's changed, and it's changed forever. It's shape-shifting, it's moving at a pace that they don't truly understand, and there's a limited amount of capex. There's only so much you can spend, so you've got to bet on that table and bet in the right way, or do it in a way that you understand that you are part of an evolution, part of the experimentation. So has it changed forever? Yes, it has. Have we got to the finite point? Absolutely not. We're still through that. When I'm asked to look at my crystal ball, how long is it going to take? It's just going to keep on going. I mean, just truly, have you experimented with AI? Have you seen how quickly and impressively it is? I went to the TV and Film Festival last year, and there was a huge AI convention piece, and scriptwriters were basically sat there saying, do we still have a job? Do we still have a job? So the AI geek in the room turns around and said, I programmed AI to rewrite or create another episode of Friends. Would you like to see it? And everyone in the audience was like, yeah, let's see the new episode of Friends. And Rachel had 3 hands, and Ross wasn't funny, you know, and everyone's like, yeah, our job's safe. Like, this is moving fast and quick, and in a year, we're in a very different world. So, as a business leader, I think it's about very much focusing on the fact that you don't have the answers. You have to have the value set, and the value set will now become the navigation. So it's not understanding like, this is our endpoint, this is our absolute no-go. If this is our value set, is this right for us to take as a shortcut? Is this right for us to go on to as a journey? And I don't think that consumers find us in the same way. I don't think that consumers interact and engage with us in the same way. There's certainly, the one thing I can tell you, absolutely, working with tens of thousands of consumers on research is they're not loyal in the same way at all. They're incredibly fickle, and they will continue to do so. And I like to have this thing called the hierarchy of needs rather than hierarchy of needs. And that
hierarchy rather than
changes
hierarchy.
all of the time. So if Sarah tonight comes in a beautiful dress and I say, yeah, I need that dress in my wardrobe tomorrow, my hierarchy of needs might change, because if I saw it and there was a few out there and I kind of wasn't too bothered, then maybe price might become my absolute go-to. But if I need it for an event and I want it and I can't find it, and that limited stock element becomes my primary concern, then actually price and everything else goes down the list, and my need to have it goes up the list. And so this hierarchy is changing constantly. And I think the interesting thing is, are you dynamic enough as a business to understand what top 3 are you going to lean into and what are you not going to lean into? Where are you going to be an absolute advocate and say, we will deliver on these elements, and where are you going to say, that's just not for us, we're not going to bother? And I think that's the exciting point, curating where you are the cute meat, the meat cute, and where you are not going to bother because other people in the market will do it better. Because competition is only going to get faster and bigger. I'm going into full geek mood now, but I think everyone's with me, so we're all right.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned loyalty, and we know in a behavioral way and a psychology way, the only loyalty is to somebody quite often. I mean, why would I be loyal to a particular brand? Well, I'm really not. I'm actually much more loyal to the person who's sold it to me. I like her, I like him, whatever that is. And we all find that with our products and things we're trying to sell. And I think probably, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is that with everything moving online, that in itself destroys loyalty, or makes loyal, or dilutes it at least.
A different type of loyalty, there's different opportunities. I mean, you have to understand, like, we have got an aging population, of course, right?
Yes.
And so I'm allowed to say I work for Marks and Spencer's. I'm not allowed to say what I do, but they obviously have a consumer that is a very loyal consumer that has an incredible emotional intelligence and connection with that brand. And they will deem their loyalty by going in and seeing Sandra in their local store every week. That's
yes,
their loyalty
still.
point. That is still, and their life longevity span might be another 20, 30 years. So loyalty's not dead. Loyalty has been long associated with a plastic card that you put in a wallet or a digital app done badly. And I think the true meaning of loyalty will start to emerge from brands, and that will be a less is more thing. So I think there's an exciting element around that. But no, I don't have these big broad brushstrokes of this is wrong, this is right, the internet's everything, bricks and mortar. If you look back, and I'm quite proud to say this, you can go on hundreds of interviews back to me talking back in maybe 2000 and, I don't know, 8, 9, talking about the future of retail. And everyone wants you to come out with the line, yeah, retail's dead, stores are dead. I absolutely knew it wasn't. There was no reason for it to be dead. It was always going to offer a human-to-human experience. It needed to evolve. It needed to be quality, not quantity. Our high streets were going to look different, but it was an evolution, not an end to. So, and that was me even arguing with ITV for ages, because I got to do a documentary called The End of the High Street, and I made them put the question mark at the end instead. That was as good as I got. I was like, I don't want the end of the high street. I want the end of the high street question mark, because it isn't.
Because it's not the end of the high street.
No.
You still think it's got a massive role to play.
And it's put a lot of skin in that game, yeah.
Not just in London.
Not just in London.
No, because I mean, if you go around the UK now, there's a lot of boards going up on windows, aren't there?
I think actually when I was probably commenting on store closures in Bradford in 2010 were 25%, 30% of all stores. And I think what we're starting to see now is landlords getting realistic.
Yes.
Independent brands thriving and growing, smaller villages coming more to the forefront, more experiential stores, and we will get a different type of vibe on our high street, but we will still get a high street. It will be, you're a psychologist, you have psychology training, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we go back to our caveman DNAs. It is only in our nature to gravitate towards people. And some of us don't really like having tons of friends and being around, but we need to be around people. And what High Street gave us was the ability to be around people without actually having to even talk or interact with people. It gave us a purposeful intention to gravitate towards people, and it will still be that.
Well, also I think we've learned through lockdowns that actually it's very, very unhealthy not to be around people. I mean, look at society, look at our children, look at ourselves and what we've all been through. I mean, it's actually horrific what's gone on. So I think you're absolutely right.
We're social creatures.
That adds to reinforces what you're saying. I know we didn't talk very much, but just earlier we talked, and you mentioned this new project that I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm trying to imagine it, but can you talk to us a little bit about this?
A little, yeah. So we opened 31st of October on 100 Oxford Street. It's been 3 years in the making. It is a completely immersive experience, and it will be rentable to clients and brands. It's called Future Stores, but the kind of name on the door will be whoever the brand is that has that, and it's booked up already through to next year.
Do you mean whoever's paid the money
the client
to have
who has the premises?
So, yes.
Yeah. London is the first of 12, which I'm really proud of because it took some doing. The second is going to be in New York. For me, the data goal, the excitement is, so you go into something, you've seen the Outernet, you've seen that kind of thing, very immersive, fully experiential digital environment, but an in-store environment. Of course, on a click of a button, that can change brand and evolve to different brands. But downstairs is kind of like a James Bond HQ. So if you think about the 12 to 16 week lead time it normally takes for research, or the 12 week on a container at sea from international, say we've got a blue light or a pink light and we want to put our bets on, is it a pink light or a blue light? We can hotspot and watch everything happening in real time downstairs, and we can provide you the data there and then as to, you've brought 500 into store, you're going to sell whilst you're here, you're going to promote your brand, you're going to be a moving digital billboard, but at the same time, if you want to put your stock orders in for Christmas, it's pink, and it's pink by 80%. So it's real-time data, it's immersive brand experience, and it's in one of the most incredible footholds, in terms of millions of passers-by every day. So very excited about it.
That is really tough for me to get my head around, but it's really is
just
quite
come.
fascinating.
It's easy. We're literally weeks away now.
I'm going to be a guinea pig in there.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll see that I've gone for the blues. Are you working with HRON to get your next car and stuff like that? Have you put your order in, or is it for a private jet? It's okay. Oh, come on! You give me something.
What do you want? A song?
The private jet would be good. We're all after a private jet. Well, okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to say thank you very much. Because that was very interesting, and I hope as an audience you got a little authentic taste of Kate, because I think quite often it's very easy to get a superficial, yeah, this is what I do, but actually I thought it was really interesting to get
questions.
your beginnings.
Thank you.
And thanks for being so honest with us. It was really
More than
good.
welcome. Thanks for having me, Sarah. Thanks for having me too. I appreciate it.
But of course, I'm in this privileged position where I've been able to ask the question, so I'm going to now throw these questions out to you. I'm sure you've got some things you'd like to ask Kate. Please. And if you haven't, I'll be really amazed because it means I've covered.
I've actually called myself more damaged online. So in terms of what you're saying is that people go into the branches and not, there's this superficial feeling I think about online. Is that something that in your experience as well, in a similar way, where there's less online than the physical store?
Tech needs to be more human. Human needs to be more tech. That's how the opportunity for the human stores to work is by embracing technology and becoming leaner and more efficient, because it's not efficient. Tech needs to be more human because consumers have a lot of challenges, but they also pull a different set of punches with an online business because they don't see a face to it. So on Saturday morning, I was talking about grocery on BBC Breakfast and how somebody had seen all the value products removed from websites like Asda and Morrison's, asking why. Well, you know, why does the consumer really want to know that if you pay maybe £2 or £3 to delivery charge, that it's actually costing that organisation probably 15 quid, 20 quid to deliver it? These situations have been set up to create an opportunity of an audience. Same with online returns. ASOS were documented in the press have called 40% returns. Who can have a business model where it's 40% returns and live and be all right with that? I mean, we know, Nick, it's changed, but I think there will always be space for both. I'm not keen on the title of omnichannel because I don't think it's about omnichannel. It kind of feels like the merging of two, and they offer very different things. I think social commerce will still be another brilliant part of it, and I think there's more yet to come. So to your friend, I would say, I completely understand. You know, to the reverse of that, I was then working with the Crime Commission about shrinkage, which we've seen, shoplifting, which we've seen massive uplifting. A lot of it to do with a lot of the technology in stores as well. There was one mom and pop post office, not too far from you, £26,000 of loss this year. A post office, one small post office. £26,000 a year. But that devastates me. That devastates me because that post office will completely function your community. The banks are closed. It will be a banking. It will be a presence for these people that need all of those services.
Yes, and this is happening, isn't it?
And this is happening.
There are some banks, or their type of banks, aren't there, that are being set up where the community can go in. Because everyone's recognising that actually often it's a social environment. All the libraries are closing.
Same again.
And all of this stuff, yeah. So really what you're saying is it cannot be a one system.
There's not a one size fits all.
It's not going to be a complete takeover.
Not at all. Not at all. So I truly believe as a good brand, you lean into your proposition, your values, work out what fits for your brand and your customers, and you evolve that model to suit. We just have the king's new clothes going on all the time in retail. I say this regularly. It's a cut, copy, paste environment. What are you doing? Right, I'll just copy, paste that. Right, what are you doing? I'll cut, copy, paste that. Okay, you know, this is a time now where budgets are reduced. You have to get really smart. Technology's there and data's giving us the answers. Use it wisely. And not everything that fits you and your brand will fit the next person and their brand. So you have kind of the best of all worlds, make it your model. And the key for me, which I think you were touching to, was consistency. Be the same brand in all the same places all of the time.
Another question, please. That was great. Thanks. Yes.
I've got a question, just out of curiosity. The Silent Night branding, it just reminds me of me being at home on a Saturday night at my nan's house before the technically adverts come on. What branding or marketing strategy do you kind of wish that you did before they did?
Oh, that's a good question.
You made me feel really old. I'm really glad that you were enhanced by it. We also sponsored Where the Heart Is. Did the Corrie idents. Yeah, it was a great life. Brands that I admire, obviously Anita, Body Shop. I was an absolute Body Shop kid. I loved it through and through. I think Virgin in its early days were really brave and different. And I certainly admired them and I lent into that. I guess sort of the brand that I've been loyal to all of my life and crosses all boundaries, and I think they've done a brilliant job of, and I'm going to sound completely biased, is Yorkshire Tea. They are phenomenal. I know the team there, I think they have done a Trojan job. They've crossed demographic, they've crossed region, and it's bloody funny. And I, as a Yorkshire woman, feel incredibly proud of it.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. Yeah, Yorkshire Tea.
Yorkshire Tea. The Patrick Stewart one for Jones leaving do. Absolutely brilliant.
Yes, please.
Talking about experiences, I going right back to hotels back in 2007 with the Hilton, and I think omnichannel, that sort of weird word, knocked around probably 5 years beforehand. And forget about retail, but who's doing it right? Who's connecting? Because there's a fight, isn't there? It's like, I want to be in retail, physical, I want to be in digital. Who's coming together around the world, not just in the UK, do you think?
Can I tell you that I still go into major businesses now and I ask to speak to their online team and their store team and they're not even in the same building? I mean, I just takes my breath away. They don't see each other. So I lean into your point completely. Who's doing it well? Where do I have an all-round experience? I think some of the hotel groups are getting onto it. I think Marriott is doing pretty well there. They've connected every single brand under their portfolio. They're rewarding loyalty schemes pretty good. They're starting to do good things with it. I think that's quite impressive because it's quite scaled. But then I think it's kind of like some of the more unique offers. I mean, for me, in COVID, Sephora, having done what it had done with the already had gone into the AI in terms of makeup trial. All of the toolkit was ready for an industry that you couldn't touch anything anymore and was completely reliant on it. And I think they still have an incredible part of the market. And look at the way 7 and 8 year olds going and doing $100 shops there. Sorry, I appreciate I'm talking. There are some Sephora's here though, right? It's not the same experience, but I mean, you know, that's a brand that they're joined up right in between in-store, online, in America, our deliveries, different demographic. I mean, there's a lot of benefit there. And then they still have that ability to really own voice and beauty. There's some brilliant breakthrough brands as well, isn't there? I mean, there's some ones that, you know, Love Shack Fancy, for instance. I think they're a phenomenal brand, and I would imagine, quite rightly, most of you haven't heard of them, but Love Shack Fancy, if you want to have a look at them, entrepreneurial couple, fashion wife, oriented fashion wife, and the husband property, and he just picked the sweet spots in retail. Really clever property pieces, and Bleecker Street, you know, just perfect spot in Coconut Bay in Miami, and that's just been that leisure time, brand experience, very different store, very different VM. So I love discovering brands that I admire, and I celebrate them. You know, the great thing is I lean into Forbes magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, so if I want to celebrate a brand and what they've done well, I can do it.
Can I just...
Yes, please.
All the brands you've mentioned have been original, different, doing something that nobody's seen. And Sarah and I were talking about earlier, how do you do something different? So you talk about cookie cutters, brand, they're not going anywhere. Just being brave. And yeah, all those brands, Forum, Virgin and back in the day, you know, going to that first Anita Roddick shop, and the smell, just experiencing something no one had ever
Even in the street, actually.
sold on
You could
smell.
smell it. Yeah.
You walked in and everybody that walked in bought something. but it's all about experience, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to bore people with hangers on a rack, go bust, do something original and different. And all the brands you mentioned seem to me to be people that are breaking out.
I think there's a level of bravery, definitely. I mean, for me, I'm not going to sit here and say I've got everything right in my career. It's been a career now that's been very publicised and documented, so I am judged on the moves that I do. Many of you will probably know the 3 years I've just had with the brand that was the most hated in the UK, Hermes, and moving them to Every, just sold for 2.7 billion, thank you very much. 99% on time in full deliveries. So I don't always like going for the safe option, but that kind of maverick element for me, the thing I like to serve my clients is I'm not afraid of going into new sectors. And I think for me, that's where I bring the cross-pollination. I was always out in the music industry because of singing, I was always out in fashion industry because I had an interest in it, and I kind of cross-pollinated. So when we took Silent Night to do the sponsorship of Alton Towers and did the Alton Towers Hotel with the bed, that hadn't been done before. You know, for me, it was an obvious. No one was buying a bed and lying down in a showroom on it for more than 10 seconds. How could I get them to sleep on a bed and have a good experience sleeping on a bed? So where's the most fun place in the UK? Alton Towers, okay, let's completely refurnish. After a really hard day at the theme park, every single bed is one, and then buy it, you know, for a buy when you leave the hotel. That was like 2003. I mean, everybody does it now. I think you can buy it in your Premier Inn, but it was always about learning from different industries. And I think that it was always the benefit. We network within our own industries, and I'd like to compliment Sarah on what she's doing here, because it's the cross-pollination of ideas. You literally need to take things from other industries and go, why did you do that? What was the problem? What was the opportunity? How can I apply that to my own industry? That's the excitement for me.
So it's such a good question. I think that piece on Land's growth curve is...
Because they're not noticing the patterns in people. Amazon can deliver something to you the same day. That's what you're competing with in some cases. So having a 2-week lead time, 10-day lead time is not... So that was my question is, do you think patience is like something that people should be really focused on if they're in this game? Which is more back office than image, I suppose.
And yet, if I want a great piece of patisserie in Paris, I want it to have taken the longest amount of time. So it depends on the sector, the industry. It's that hierarchy of needs, isn't it? What is it about that product that's driving it? If I need something to make the remote control work for the kids, you give it me in half an hour, I'll pay more. That's simple. I want to go and have an experience at Louis Vuitton in Paris and tell all my friends about it. I want the meal to last 5 hours. It's all about the hierarchy of needs. So right place, right time, I agree with you completely. But I really, strategically for me, it's been all about the long game. I like the idea of brands always having that, yes, here are all the short-term deliverables, that's why we can get all these organisations to help us with it. But in terms of the long game, our brand values, our consistency, our methodicalness, yeah, that has to be there for me.
Can I ask what you think of influencers?
What do you think of influencers? Yeah, what do you think of influencers? Are they here to stay, or is it just another department of that's promotion?
The current thinking is micro-influencers are going to have longevity, and niche influencers will have longevity, but this kind of macro element, I've seen a lot of my fashion clients move away very much, particularly this LFW, that they don't want to have that presence and that association. I mean, it's of its time, isn't it? I think there will be a generation of influencers fit for the purpose that we're in. We've always been influenced. I was talking, I feel like I can't name drop, that's sad, isn't it? I was talking to Joan Collins about this the other week. Genzano.
That's a good name drop.
Right.
Yeah, Joan.
Yeah, Joan. And the advert, you know, I just thought that was the most sophisticated
good,
drink in the world. Couldn't wait to drink it, hated it, spat it all out, but wow, you know, that's the impression. I think we've always been influenced, and I think it gives us focus in a world where we've got more products than ever before. I think that's why Aldi and Lidl have been successful, you know. Yes, they provide value, yes, they provide transparency, I'm not taking away from that, store, portfolio, right place, right time. But really, there's about 2,000-3,000 products rather than 50,000. It's going to make it a lot easier, isn't it, to do your cost comparison and work out what's there. So I think they will help us to scope out products, but maybe that micro niche thing.
Sorry, you had a question, I think.
I was going to ask, you mentioned Sephora and the AI, but what else would be like the most exciting thing that you've seen online in the way that people selling products to consumers online, technology behind it?
I think there's the challenge is for me, Sarah, is I've seen things that are coming down the pipeline and I get kind of bamboozled. So I'm allowed to say I work with some brands. I can't say what I do for them, but I'm allowed to say I understand I work for Disney. I can't tell you what I do for Disney. And if I just tell you what that brand is starting to do and where it's starting to take some of this.
What's coming? Like in pause, this is to me, it's like the technology's always been there, but you've got to teach people, and it might take 10 years.
100%. And the consumer will say yes or no to it. One of the biggest challenges I think in stores with technology is we just throw this technology in there and we expect everyone to be able to use it.
I think it also comes back to the adoption curve. So yeah, tech's been there for a long time. You've always had the early innovators, but you've never had the mass adopters. In my opinion, I almost find it a bit laughable about AI and people being scared by it. What do you think Google's been doing for 10 years? Tailoring your search based on algorithms and learning. It's exactly, and I think going back to a lot of the conversation, all we're talking about is new labels. And I think more, all it is we have nowadays are more options. We talk about online. Catalogue selling's been around 50 plus years. It's the same thing. You just have a different touch point. And I think coming back to the question around stores and online, it's another touch point. And as long as it's relevant, it will work.
Communication that's going on is the truth and actually trusting. There are very few places and people and businesses who you can actually say, I really trust them. And I think that it will be a bit of the way I look at it, a little bit of a differentiator when it comes out. And you know, Kate's word was authenticity. And I think that makes a huge difference as well. We're going to close off in just a second. Does anybody have a begging question that you're desperate to ask? Because please do it now, because Kate will be gone and we've got this wonderful opportunity of having Kate right here and she's going nowhere for a second and then we're going to dance. Yes, please. Final question of the night.
I just want, so I run a digital marketing agency for local brands. I just wondered, the brands that you're partnered with, the role that they see some of the big digital tech players like Google and Meta having in the future, given the fact that in the past year or so the technology in that space has become almost fully automated and the market's now totally level. It's so much harder to gain an advantage in the way that you market to consumers online through those platforms. What role do you see those platforms playing? Do you think it will diminish, and do you think other players will come to the space and start leading where they have led before?
Okay, so I think I probably need to put a thread in all of this because we got so far and we didn't finish it off. So 15 years ago, I was asked to go and be a voice of the consumer because there were retail experts and business experts, but not a voice of the consumer. To do that, I needed to be independent. And to be independent, I could no longer be in-house. So I took a massive risk and I moved to an independent and I took on a client base. And the clients I now serve are much larger than the organisations I served originally. A lot of the conversations are right at the pinnacle of where these organisations are. So I don't want to particularly name any particular sector or brand. There is a lot of frustration towards these organisations. There's almost a hood being lifted off eyes moment happening, which is we've bought into this. We thought this was the only way. We're now learning this is not the only way. We're now learning we should not have been spending these amounts and we should have been doing things very differently and had more autonomy and more of our own voice in there. So I would imagine a lot of you in the room are recognising that. So they're now looking for trusted partners. And I think, again, I'm going to use that word authenticity. They are looking for you to come in and be very real with them, very authentic, understand them, don't give them a carte blanche. And I feel really proud and privileged with this because I've seen the Emperor's New Clothes sell happen, and then I've seen those organisations walk out the room and the CEO turn around to me and say, what did they just say? Like, I am the translator, that is my job. And yet, I had a meeting with one of our Prime newspapers editor, and we were both sat in London last Monday morning, and we were sat next to a table, and we couldn't believe the conversation of a very prevalent digital marketing organisation talking about how they were going to completely hoodwink in the pitch that was coming up a massive organisation we both worked with. So it's still prevalent, it's still happening, and the short-term win is always, I think, for some organisations, about what can we get for here and now. I honestly champion, believe, and partner tech organisations that can start to lean into all the great we can do, use it properly, use it to the benefit of everyone, and I really hope, to answer your question, you will start to see more organisations come to you and say, right, we're ready now. We didn't get it before, we do now. What can you give us?
Great. Thank you, Kate, very much. So, Paul, Sarah, thank you very much indeed for such an inspiring night. And I'm convinced with everybody will have found Kate just fantastic to listen to, really super knowledgeable, and wow, what a story. And I think it was, for me at least, it was brilliant to hear from your beginnings through to now, and also to see that if you've got Kate on your side on a business, even if it's a project, you're going to win if you listen, because you've got that authenticity, you've got that truth coming through, and you've got that brutality that a really good consultant brings, which is, this is the way it should be done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, one thing that is left is we should all be singing happy birthday. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kate. Happy birthday to you.